Welcome everyone to the City of Northampton Urban Forestry Commission meeting, October 6th, 2024. We have two members of the public, Kent and Councilor Jarrett. Do either one of you have public comment for us? Kent.
Yeah, hi. So I want to speak in support of the strengthened significant tree ordinance that's on the agenda and actually request and suggest that you make it even stronger. I sent out an email to all of you, I think yesterday, with some suggestions. First of all, to decrease the diameter breast height qualification for trees in the central business and urban residential zones. Many of the urban heat islands in Northampton are in the central business district and the urban residential zones. So trees are really precious there. Second, to strengthen the requirement a little bit, not to give less latitude to the planning board for exceptions and put specifically which exceptions count as public good and not make it up to their interpretation. Another suggestion is to increase the diameter, the replacement requirement for very large trees, which is something that some other municipalities have done. And then to expand the record keeping requirement to require keeping records of the individual projects as well as just the totals. Happy to answer questions. I know I'm not a member of the commission, so I'm commenting during public comment instead of in the scheduled agenda time. But I do hope that you will strengthen the ordinance at least as much as has been proposed and hopefully even more so. Thank you.
Thank you, Kent. Councilor Jarrett, you don't see your hand up, but I didn't know if you wanted to make a comment.
No, thank you. I'm here to listen.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you for the public comment. So review and approve minutes of 10/2/24. Did folks have a chance to review them?
Yes.
Everyone's shaking their head, except not sure about Sue. Looks like Sue's reading. Sue's good. Jen?
I read them. I wasn't here, so
Okay.
I have to
All right.
abstain.
Okay. All right. Is there any suggested changes, corrections before we make a motion to accept them? Molly?
I wasn't here either, but there's a section that says that refers to an email that I sent you about the letter to landowners for setback trees. I haven't started working on the letter. Actually, I would like to get some suggestions about how to approach a letter like that to landowners that are, or I say property owners that are actually LLCs. Because a vast majority of them are not actually people living there. I'd like to have a little bit of discussion about the best way to approach those LLCs, which I think is on the agenda, could be on agenda.
Well, we can talk about it later. It is the setback initiative, so that would be the time to talk about that. Okay.
So changing the minutes is just that I'm not working on the letter, but I want to work on the letter, but I want some feedback on it or ideas.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Molly. Could we get a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Rich Parrish, thank you very much. So there's a motion to accept the minutes as amended with a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call, please, Bonnie?
Sure. Rich Parasaletti.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Molly.
Abstain, I was absent.
Oh, okay. David,
Yes.
Richard,
Yeah.
Parrish, okay, and Jen.
I
Yes.
I have to abstain. I
Okay.
was absent too.
Okay,
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Motion carries. Chair report. Let's see. So we will be talking about this a little bit further on down the ordinance about the STO, but I did, as the chair of the commission, meet with the mayor on August 27th and September 10th with Carolyn Mish in both meetings. And then September 10th, Councilor Jarrett joined us to discuss the existing draft of the STO, which we will get into more depth, a couple more items down from here. Actually, right below this one. There have been no requests for any public shade tree hearings other than the ones that we did over the summer, which were the 39 Day Avenue, the Turkey Hill Road one, and 64 Fern Street, which they all have been, all the applicants, their trees have been removed and mitigation is either in hand or is on its way. So there's no other requests at this time. You know, they've been planting, obviously, doing a fair amount of planting, even though it's been dry, so we can talk about that in our fall planting update. I apologize for canceling the last meeting at the last minute, but I had a conflict that I could not get out of, so thank you for bearing with me. It's nice to see you all. It's been a while. It's been a month actually, so too long. Really, there's really, other than just regular operational business of moving trees, planting trees, doing tree work, tree removal on the tree warden side of things. I did actually review a plan today with Carolyn that is a shared path use for the Rocky Hill Greenway, which is off of Route 66. It's going to connect the Rocky Hill Greenway that comes out of Ice Pond Drive, go across Route 66, down Route 66 for a short piece, and then take a right into the woods where it will connect with the rail trail going to East Hampton. So there are going to be multiple public shade tree removals there in order to widen the path that exists. Or sorry, the path that's going to be built because of the steep slope that's there, but I'll have more information as we get closer to that. I don't know. That project is pretty close to being shovel ready, but I'm not sure if I'm not sure when that's going to happen. You have to meet with Carolyn again about this project. So other than that, there's no other potential public shade tree hearings that I'm aware of. So, that's really about it. I don't have a lot. So, anyone have any questions? Rich, could you remind me, I do need to ask you, do I owe you the 2 years of the tree planting? Was it 2021 and 2022? Is that what you?
That's correct.
Okay, I will get those to you tomorrow. I know I said that before, but I will get it to you tomorrow. 2021, 2022. Okay. And then, Rich, I wasn't able to read your email earlier about the tree pruning training. Is there a date set for that? I saw it come in my inbox, but I didn't read it yet.
I put out some options for folks to try to get the maximum number of attendees. So in
Okay.
a couple of days, I will have the date, but it will almost certainly be the week of November 18th.
Okay. November 18th. Okay. Rich froze. So what we're alluding to is that Tree Northampton is going to be ramping up again in conjunction with Jay Gerard and volunteers from Tree Northampton to do the young tree train pruning during this winter, or probably late December, January, February,
Yeah.
March.
Correct. Just similar as to past years.
Yeah. So if anyone is interested.
Yes.
Yeah, Rich, you're having a little video feed. It's a little slow. I don't know. But we can see you, but you're not moving any longer. Um, other than that, I don't really have any other comments. I do see that Jackie
Yeah, we'll
Balance.
hope to start in December and carry on as the season permits.
Okay. Would anyone object to having Jackie? I think Jackie has her hand raised. She's entered the meeting. Would anyone object to having her make a public comment?
No,
Jackie, hello.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just to let you know, the hot link on the city's website for this meeting was ineffective, and I had to call the DPW just in the nick of time to get someone named Cindy who sent me a hot link, which I have just forwarded to other people who were interested in this meeting who may have given up because they couldn't get on. Just thought you should know.
Thank you. My apologies.
Yeah, I couldn't get on the public link on the agenda. I had to go to the invitation.
Interesting. Okay. I'm not sure
This is an important meeting.
this is not the first time this has happened before in the past, and I'm not sure what. It's almost like there's one digit being left off. I will try to correct that.
I don't think it's that because the way I got on was I opened Zoom first and then I copied the meeting number from the agenda and put that in and that worked. And then I copied the password from the agenda and that worked and I got in. So I don't know what the problem is that's happening to other people.
Okay.
Yeah, the blue public meeting link is not actually a link on the agenda. It's just blue text. There's no, you can't click on it.
Oh,
Huh. Okay. That's interesting. Thanks. Thank you for that. I will check into that. Sorry about that, folks. Okay. Any other comments? Public meeting link. Okay. All right. I don't have anything else. So we can move on to the draft STO discussion. Did everyone have a chance to read the draft?
mhm.
Good question.
Yes.
So the draft that was there was only parts of it, right?
The draft, what I sent you was the whole ordinance that we redrafted 2 years ago or a year and a half ago.
Maybe it was operator malfunction on my end. I tried to read it and all I got was like parts of pages. I don't know.
Well, what I did is I sent it to you in a PDF and I kept the track changes on the side so you could see where the recommended changes were made.
Right.
Based on our most previous 2 meetings that we had.
Right.
Okay.
There's a lot of blank space on the pages, but like on the first page, there's that 350-11.5B is like one paragraph, and then the rest of it is a blank page. And then it goes to the next page is 350-12.3. And there's, I mean, almost a full page there. Is that what you're seeing, Jen?
I'm not on it right now. It was just, it didn't seem like the whole thing was there. I don't know, but that could have been, maybe I didn't download it or, could have been me. But usually, let me see if I can get it. Let's see.
Would it be helpful if I put it up on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let
That'd
me.
be great. Thanks. Sorry about that. I don't know.
No, it's all good. Just
It's
hold
good to
on.
make sure that we're all looking at the same thing.
Yep, I
Yeah,
agree.
good point.
Just give me one moment, please.
I had a question about it though.
Sure.
I'm not sure, it was so long ago that we worked on it. I don't remember what were the edits that we made and what were the edits that, Carolyn made. I'm not sure, like all the things that are in blue, are those the things that we added last time? And then it sounded like from your letter about it that Carolyn had made some more edits after that. And I'm just confused whose edits are whose.
Hold on one second.
And when they happened.
Participants. Okay, now who can? This is interesting. Okay. All right,
There we
can
go.
everyone
Yep.
see? Okay. All right. Let's get to this. So the blue, okay, so where it says delete. So first page, the blue that's in here that exists is actually the changes that we made originally. So if you go to page 2, here's the table that now exists that didn't exist before. This was, so anything that was in blue is what we changed, and that was through multiple conversations and meetings with the Office of Planning and Sustainability.
Right.
So the changes that Carolyn made most recently are not on page 1, that's original. Page 2. So the one change that Carolyn made was the change in the URC, URB, and URA. That diameter breast height was raised. That was, I believe, that was 14 or 13.
Mm.
The 17 has always been the same, if I remember correctly. The other change that Carolyn made is down under D, number 1, trees located under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission. The tree warden was added, Public Works or tree warden. Shallow roots, okay, let's scroll down one more. This blue was in there from before. Trees removed in order to create a net zero energy building. So this was all this section here that I'm circling with my arrow was all in the previous ordinance. Ratios. So this is all actually, A is all in this as well. I'm just looking for something that I'm not seeing in here.
I'm just going to jump in and say, I think it's helpful if you go to the, city's E-code, and then it gives you a little context of where these sections fit in the larger document. I think that's why it can feel kind of confusing.
Yeah, it's a good point, Sue, because for example, this page right here, this is cut and pasted out of the 350-11.5, which has a whole nother section underneath it.
Which is part of section 11 is site plan approval.
Correct. So that's something
under procedures.
Yep. And that's not being changed. It's just this.
Part B2I.
Yep.
Which is just one of, lots of different pieces in it.
A general comment I would make is just to remember that a lot of the sections in blue that we edited and changed they were compromises between what we wanted and what planning and sustainability wanted. Like, I think we did want, if I remember correctly, we did want smaller diameters for these different areas on that section C that we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
But planning and sustainability pushed back and wanted larger diameters. And same thing with the issue about the replacement, 1 inch for 1 inch. Originally it was 1 inch. It was only half an inch replacement for 1 inch and we increased it to 1 inch for 1 inch, even though we had long discussions about how that doesn't capture nearly the full amount of the volume of the tree that's being taken out.
Yep, that's
And just for like full clarification, it's been a long time since and I just want to make sure that we've gone over this. I just want to make sure, especially the public and city councilors, this understand this has nothing to do with private trees. It's only public trees, correct?
no, it's actually, it does have to do with private trees that are actually under site plan approval, special permit, or zoning relief. So public trees in Northampton presently that are in the public right of way, public parks, public cemeteries are, well, sorry, trees in the public right of way are governed by MGL 87.
Right.
This ordinance is only for projects that are under site plan approval, special permit, or zoning relief from the planning board. So this is not for by right construction. This is not for ADUs, accessory dwelling units, etc. So anyone that wants to pull a building permit to build an ADU on their property now, which they're allowed because the state passed that legislation that allows us to have ADU units, I think it's up to 900 square feet. You can remove all the trees on the lot to do what you need to do because it's not, doesn't require zoning relief, doesn't require any review by the planning board.
So what would be an example of a project, just make one up or whatever, that would fall under zoning relief? Or I guess I'm not clear what zoning relief is, and what was the other thing? Special permit?
Yes, special permit, site plan review. So site plan review would be like 8 View Avenue. One of the most recent projects that the planning board reviewed and the conservation commission reviewed over several months, which is off of North Street.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be an example of trees that are on private property. They're going to be impacted by the building of the 12 units that are there. This is where this ordinance applies.
Okay.
Zoning relief would be if someone were to shared driveway situation. So if you have a piece of property that abuts another property behind it and you need to utilize a shared driveway, you have to have zoning relief or a special permit in order to do that from the planning board, things of that nature.
Okay. So it's not like super comprehensive. It's kind of a special
Yes.
niche. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I just wanted to, make sure it's clear. Everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. That's helpful.
Yeah. Two things I will tell you, that two things that came out of the two meetings that we had. One was we talked about better understanding the city's overall canopy. And so we have been investigating doing a LiDAR flyover for the city and the dollar amount, how much that will cost. But luckily for us, the state did a LiDAR back in the spring. So we actually have the ability to actually get that data layer. And then I think we can do some analysis. So that's one thing, which is good. So I'm working with Carolyn and Office of Planning and Sustainability on that. The second thing is that, as you know, most of our permits in the city are electronic. So we talked, Carolyn and I spoke with the mayor and with Councilor Jarrett as well to talk about potentially trying to track at a minimum, at least to better understand the amount of trees that are being removed on private property for any kind of building permit that is pulled. So that has actually just been inserted into the electronic permit system. So if you go to the building department, their permitting system is electronic. There's drop-down boxes. You have to fill out the amount of the quantity of trees and their diameter or breast height that's being removed. So we can at least have an understanding, even though this ordinance doesn't cover those types of projects, at least we'll have a starting point. Because we really
That's
don't.
progress.
Excuse me, what?
That's good progress.
Yeah, I mean, it is good progress. And then I also think that having real time or almost real time LiDAR would be very helpful for us and getting it analyzed to really understand what our canopy looks like presently and have a baseline that is pretty close to hopefully, accurate within 6 months. So those are two things which is good because there are a lot of by right construction projects that are happening where trees are being removed. That will not track other trees that are being removed that where there's no building permit taken. So someone who wants to just take some trees down in the yard, there's no requirement to have that tracked. And there's no way to capture those things.
Mhm.
So
Was the thinking on the part of the planning department when it comes to these both the table in section C and the replacement values, they felt like having stricter requirements would be too burdensome for people applying for permits, and they want to like encourage? Are they trying to encourage, making it easier to get the permits?
no, I think what they're trying, I don't want to speak for them, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to follow the city's sustainability plan, where they're encouraging development in the URC, URB, and URA,
Mm,
and the CB core side and gateway areas for density housing, denser development, with the hopes that smaller units will be built that are hopefully almost net zero and now fossil fuel free. And actually people will hopefully leave their cars behind and will walk and bike, hopefully with the intent of reducing one's carbon footprint, which is a big portion, obviously, of the sustainability plan. And I think their concern is that if we shrunk the diameter of breast height, that potentially would be a detractor from having developers want to develop properties with that type of density housing.
mm,
I mean, a 15-inch tree, just for an example, a 15-inch
Mhm.
tree, depending on the tree species, that's roughly probably, again, I'm using this generally, it's probably about a 28 to 29-year-old tree. So that tree is just about to become carbon neutral.
mm,
So it's just about to kick, the overall benefits that we really need are about to kick in.
mm.
But I also understand that they are, the planning office is also trying to discourage large swaths of development in the zoning districts on the last two of the table, were the 10-inch and the 6-inch, which are much farther out in the more wooded areas of the city, because they don't want people to develop there and then actually have to get in their vehicles and then drive to X, Y, and Z place they have to be. And I also think the other thing too is that this is, in essence, I think David, myself, and Lily actually started this with the planning board, probably prior to the pandemic, if I remember correctly. And we've sort of been just picking away at it. And, it's a negotiation in essence. It's a give and take. And the question is that if we do this as a group and we try to negotiate with the Office of Planning and Sustainability to, sort of make the numbers sort of work for everyone, then we potentially have their support and the ordinance will be strengthened, even though the diameters of breast height are a little higher than some folks would like. So I mean, you know, I really sort of want to defer to all of you because you know, this is a sort of a group discussion. I'm doing all the talking, but I'm looking for anyone to have any comments or thoughts.
Something Kent, I read when I read his comments, the letter from folks in the community, the part about documentation, that doesn't seem like a huge ask.
It's-
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't, maybe I don't understand the full picture, but that doesn't seem like a huge ask to me. And it seems important to be able to, you know, I just know on the planting end, we are keeping a lot of data so we can figure out, you know, where we're at, what's surviving, what's not surviving, should we, you know, where's the most need, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And having that information is just super important, I think.
I agree that the pieces of data that Kent and members of the community are encouraging us to ask to be tracked are important, like the date of approval, the address, the name of the applicant, number of trees removed, the total DBH, the number of replacement trees planted, the total DBH of replacement trees, and the dollar amount paid to the mitigation fund. All of those pieces of data just seem like very, very pertinent to anyone who cares about the city's canopy.
So on the email number 1, record the date of planning board approval, project address, applicant name and number. That information, total DBH of trees removed and number of replacement trees is all in the public file on the planning board's website per project. So, because like the total DBH of trees removed and number of replacements trees planted or required is also part of the calculation that the planning board has to approve. So those are all on those site plan. They're usually on the project sheets or the plan sheets. Annual totals of the number of diameter breast height measurements of trees preserved and replaced is that is not the trees preserved is also on those plans because it will show you on the plan. It's not in a table per se, but it's also on the sheets as well. But the dollar amount, so when there's mitigation, the dollar amount, Carolyn keeps all that on a spreadsheet, from what I understand, in the planning office. Everyone okay? I'm gonna let Kent go ahead if everyone's okay.
Yeah, the intent there is to centralize it. Yes, the information is in the plans, but it's very difficult to find. Even on the View Avenue plan, that, you know, you have to go through the full set of plans and scroll down to the page 8 or something, and there's a table. So to capture that information for a citizen to try to find that information for a year is very difficult. Whereas capturing it at the time of the approvals is a lot easier. And I believe they're actually doing something like that because I do have some data from Carolyn. I asked her for information from that record keeping requirement, then got spreadsheets with details. So I don't think it's onerous to actually say that that's a requirement. But to expect citizens to go through all the planning board documents to find that's a huge task.
So I can see in a perfect world, yes, data collection is preferred, but I wonder, after the tree work is done, what purpose will that data serve? We will either have new trees planted or trees removed, so be it. Are we just collecting data for the sake of collection, or will it actually be used?
Jen,
I can see where that would be useful, that in the future, if we are having overall canopy decrease in the city, which I'm not saying that's happening now, and but if that's happening like it was in Cambridge, what Cambridge found out is they were losing, the primary canopy loss was on private properties. So then they took that data and said, we need a different kind of ordinance. And I'm not saying that's where we should end up or anything like that. I'm just saying, to me, I agree with Kent that hoeing through documents or looking at plans or wherever you got to go, if we are already recording dollar amounts, on that same spreadsheet, I'm not a spreadsheet guru, but on that same spreadsheet, how hard would it be just to record all the information? This is about sustainability ultimately, and trees have been left out of City of Northampton sustainability plans from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a big problem with that. I know sometimes there's conflict there, but it's gray infrastructure, and green infrastructure is not being considered at the same level and the same value. And I think that is a huge mistake. So that's why I would like to see a simple centralized place with all that data in it. And I don't really think it would be that hard to do it. If some of that information is already being recorded.
To get rid of this picture.
I second everything that
my
Jen just
background.
said.
And I'm in agreement with what she's saying too. If almost all of the pieces of data are already being captured here or there, why not, if we care about our canopy, make it easy to see for all of us and for the public what the trends are and what the baseline is, and at least on the section of projects that go through special permitting or variances through the planning board. Ideally, it would be all of them, but that's all.
any other comments from commissioners? Molly?
So looking at that chart in section C there, it's difficult to weigh out like how much benefit is gained by people not driving as much compared to that tree or trees that would be, staying there if the diameters were smaller. Or, well, maybe it wouldn't be staying there, but it would be replaced at least. This is saying that am I reading this right? That if a tree is less than 17 inches in the city core, that they don't even have to do any replacement? Is that
That is
right?
correct. Yep.
Yeah, that seems, I don't know. It just seems like, that tree, that 17-inch tree is, or a 16-inch tree is valuable. It's performing a service every minute that it's standing there. And, how much does that add up to compared to the less driving that would supposedly happen by people living closer to the city? I don't know.
You want to listen to it? No,
No.
I have to go start the chicken.
Yes.
For a tree removal to kick in under this criteria, that represents an expense to the developer, correct? To replace,
Mhm.
to buy trees, replace them. And so if somebody's going to be building something, we're talking about perhaps at least a few $100,000 worth of investment in that new property, that new structure. And would the cost of buying new trees, which perhaps would, what, a couple $1,000, I think is fairly minimal in comparison to the overall project. And so I would be in favor of reducing those diameter sizes, because I think the cost is not significant to a builder. I understand the planning board's view. We don't want to dissuade them, but I don't think that cost would be significant to them.
So it might not even serve the purpose of dissuading building, or I say encouraging building downtown. It might not even serve that purpose, because the cost, even if they do have to do replacement trees, it might not really matter that much. I don't know.
I mean, just in the 2 years since we started working on this, the overall cost of a project has gone up. So it would at least be reasonable to look at that type of increase and how this fits in. That increment of increase.
I have a question about table C. If you consider the URC, URB, URA 15 dBH, do we know how many trees there are currently that are 15 dBH or more within those zones?
No. No, because most of the trees, other than the public shade trees, they're all on private property.
Right.
So you're not gonna know what the diameter breast height is until there's an actual project that is an application that comes in front of the planning board. I think LiDAR can provide possibly diameter of breast height, an average diameter or an estimated diameter of breast height. But we'll have to look into that when we go down the LiDAR road. But I don't think typically, we don't know what the DBHs are on private property.
Rich, do you have a feel for this? How can I put this? Do you have a feel for where the planning board is which topics or which areas the planning board is pretty like, this is our limit? You know what I mean? It's kind of like union negotiation, like, do you think they would be open to reconsidering the DBHs? Or I wasn't super involved in this, but I do remember we went all around on these numbers before.
So this draft has really just been in draft form between the staff in the Office of Planning Sustainability and myself and the whole commission.
Mm-hmm.
So the planning board is aware of this, but they don't know. They have not, I don't know if they've seen this. They may have seen this, but it has not been introduced as far as I know.
Okay, so
we have been relying upon previous negotiations with Wayne and with Carolyn, relying upon their instincts as to how the planning board would potentially receive this.
And having their backing, having the planning department's backing would be significant in getting this through the planning commission or getting approval by the planning.
I mean, I believe.
I don't really understand how it works totally.
So, the way this would work is that, whatever we decide to change something, we decide to accept it the way it is, it goes back, and our recommendations go back to the mayor, and then the mayor would submit this as a ordinance change to the city council, and then it would be referred out to committee to be reviewed. And then in the same time, there'd be a joint public hearing, I believe, held between city council and planning board to review this, where anyone from the public can come and talk to the planning board and the city council about this. And it would make its way back in front of the city council eventually with some out of committee with some potential recommendations and changes. And then the city council would inevitably decide to take it up on a vote, and that would be where that's how it would sort of go, basically, in a very short tutorial. I probably missed a step somewhere, but so this has been sort of massaged over multiple years. Given I think what we've learned from projects that have come and gone, or projects that have been built, a lot of the technical ask in there for like having a certified arborist and having a tree risk assessment are all sort of like best management practices. But I think really everyone sort of zooms in and on the table, because we're talking about the diameters. And the value of trees today in our urban canopy is incredible. I don't think any one of us would say that they are not extremely valuable, if not one of the most valuable things that we have. So it's difficult to see the diameters at that size, I guess.
Yeah.
But also, I just want to remind you all that this is just for site plan, special permit, and zoning relief. So there are many other trees being removed under just regular building permits by right construction that will not alter that. This will just apply to the zoning regulations.